Welcome back to WRPL. It's the podcast where we talk about all the things we are watching, reading, playing, and listening to. My name's Ben.
And I'm Steve.
How's it going, Steve?
It's going well, Ben. Been able to watch some things this week. It's been good. It's been good.
Good.
Excited to talk to you about them.
I don't have a ton of stuff. I have a bunch of little things.
Okay.
Our main topic today is Longlegs, the biopic of Steve himself. But let's start off once again on a very somber note. Well, actually, roll.
Yeah. Well, before we start, look, the biopic of me because I'm tall and thus have long legs. A biopic of me because I am a serial killer.
A little A, a little B. No, we'd always call you Daddy Longlegs, as a joke.
All right.
So let's roll and see how this goes.
12.
Okay.
Man, I've been doing middle of the road for a while. I haven't
Yeah.
gotten anything high. I feel like in a while. 16.
Okay,
You've been doing pretty solid, Ben. I feel like.
Well, you had 11 last week, and I had 16. I had 12 and 16. So cool.
Consistency. That's what it's all about.
Let's. It's on a sad note. We had a couple of deaths. I just found out. Richard Simmons died today. You told me this. Did you see how old he was?
I believe it said he was 76.
Okay, not super old.
Old, but not super.
But not super old.
Yeah.
My dad's 76, and okay, I guess that's pretty old. Do you know of what? Did it say complications due to pancreatic cancer or anything?
I did not delve too deep.
I tried to
into
look it up, but I get no internet in your basement. So,
Oh, sorry.
Richard Simmons, R.I.P. I know there was a funny tweet where someone asked him, "Oh, who do you want to play you in a biopic?"
Mm-hmm.
And he said Tom Cruise, and then Pauly Shore retweeted it "Fuck you, man! My whole life I've been compared to you, and I look exactly like you, and you're gonna pick fucking Tom Cruise." Yeah, Pauly Shore would be perfect for that. I bet they're not
Looks wise,
but I think he could. I think he could do it.
I think he could too. I just question. Well, I feel like Pauly Shore also would just look like Richard Simmons now.
Yeah, that's true.
You couldn't do Pauly Shore playing. I mean, with the facial de-aging and stuff,
yeah, it could work.
There's a version of it, but I just think, Tom Cruise might be older than Pauly Shore as well.
For sure, yeah.
But if you're gonna get a high caliber actor, I understand picking Tom Cruise over Pauly Shore.
I wonder if it was just a joke sort of thing. Clearly not. Tom Cruise doesn't look anything like me.
It would have been way funnier if he was just I want Morgan Freeman to play me, or Channing Tatum, just someone really out of left field.
I'd pick someone who's already dead. I'd be like John Candy, and if you can't do that, you don't get to do my biopic.
It's gonna happen.
If they do a John Candy biopic.
I meant a Richard Simmons biopic.
Oh, sure. But if they do a John Candy one, he's from the Birthday Boys. He was on Love, the big guy.
Yeah.
He'd be a perfect John Candy. He's very funny.
I can see that.
Another death. Shelley Duvall died at 75. So they're just dropping off relatively early, 90, you could drop off at 90. 75? Hers was complications due to diabetes, which if you got it, you don't always last long. You get pneumonia one time and then you just don't recover. It's a very sad life. Great actress who's in a lot of classics, and then kind of just went off the deep end and kind of had her mind broken a little and never really recovered. It's a shame.
Well, when Jack Torrance is trying to bash your brain in, I guess
or
that
Stanley Kubrick is forcing you to do 75 takes while you're screaming and crying. And anyhow, R.I.P. to both of them.
She wasn't related to Robert Duvall in any way, right?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. I didn't think so.
We also had 2 new trailers. Maybe you saw them?
Maybe I did, maybe I didn't.
I know one you're probably excited for, Gladiator 2.
You know what? I am, actually.
Yeah. It's a good-looking trailer. I watched this and went, okay, now I see it. We're not following Maximus.
Yeah.
It's just, hey, you like gladiators? Here's some more gladiators, and we'll call it Gladiator 2.
Yeah, now don't get me wrong. I don't think this movie will be necessarily good.
Probably not.
But Gladiator is one of those movies I watched a ton growing up. I love that movie. It's awesome. I just think the trailer showed just a little bit too much, which bummed me out.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Gladiator the first one wasn't super historically accurate. This one looks like it's not historically.
Yeah,
It's just you might as well just put this one next to what's that? Exodus.
Oh, gods, gods and kings.
Gods and Kings. Yeah, just in terms of like whatever. But you know what? Really, Scott, I think he's in his 80s and he's still making this like big epic shit.
I don't think he's directing this, is he?
Oh, I don't know. Is he?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think I looked it up and it was someone else.
I like the cast. I think it looks cool. I'm gonna go see it. I don't care if it's probably 3 hours of nonsense. Joseph Quinn is the sort of Joaquin Phoenix character.
Yeah,
it looks like he's having a ton of
weird
fun.
albino, inbred emperor. Yeah,
I think it looks fun. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
I really need to rewatch the first one. I saw it one time and went, "Ooh, this is not for me at all," and kind of sworn it off. This looks a lot more fun. I'm just, I don't like Denzel, and like in this trailer, he's not very good. Like I don't see. I still will not get people's obsession with Denzel. He's not great in this trailer. So hopefully it comes through in the actual movie. But I don't know. We got Mescal Pascal battles. That's pretty fun. A naval battle in the Coliseum with crocodiles and stuff. Ridiculous, but
don't care. I like
it'll be fun. Hey, they're gonna fight a rhino.
Yeah,
that's pretty.
That was
cool.
the only scene where I was just like, man, I wish do the shot of the rhino coming out and the guy on top. That's so fucking cool and looks badass. Very heavy metal. But then just seeing like you just do the like rollaway as it charges into the wall and it looks like you knocked it out. I was like, well, don't show me that.
Don't show me that. Yeah, in the trailer on the doors opening, here comes a rhino. Stomp, stomp. Yeah. Cut to black.
That's where the trailer should have been. And then it went on for another minute.
Yeah.
And it looks like it kind of shows you what the final battle is. Yep. It's like, don't do that either.
I've always had the thought of anything in the last act, the last, if it's a 2-hour movie, the last 45 minutes, you don't get to put any of that stuff in the trailer. Anything else, that's fine. Just save it. Because whenever I see stuff in a trailer, I wait for it. Mm-hmm. And if it's from the last final battle, I'm like, oh, okay, and now I know where this is going to end up. I could kind of piece where it's going. I kind of know what I'm getting into, and I lose a little bit.
I can agree with that. I don't necessarily fully agree with that. And there's actually a movie we'll talk about where I will argue with that.
Okay, all right. And then the other trailer that was out was Captain America: Brave New World.
Oh yeah.
This looks pretty sweet. It's got the Winter Soldier vibes to it. It doesn't look nearly as flashy as the other ones. It looks a bit more grounded. If you took out any of the Falcon stuff or Red Hulk stuff, this could have been like, I don't know, Black Hat, a Bourne movie. Like it felt like a really normal thriller, political thriller. But then, you got man in a bird suit flying around with cherry blossoms and flying through airplanes and stuff. But at least at the beginning, it felt really grounded. And I'm excited for it.
Yeah, Captain America trilogy is the best trilogy in the Marvel Universe. You could argue Guardians. You could argue the Avengers.
Even though they're
even though they're not really a trilogy. But of standalone things,
heroes with their own series.
Heroes with their own series. Captain America's the best. And I have no problem with Falcon being the new Captain America. And like you said, I think this trailer does look good and fun. But I also think that Marvel does trailers really well and then hasn't delivered a lot lately. Because I thought when I saw the trailer for Secret Invasion, I was like, oh, that's a really good trailer. That looks cool. And then I didn't watch Secret Invasion. And all I heard was that it was terrible through and through.
Yeah.
I didn't think that the Captain Marvel's or the Marvels trailer looked bad. I thought that looked like fun. Didn't see it. All I heard was that it was terrible. I'm holding out hope that it's going to be good because I want it to be, but we'll see.
Hopefully it is because they shot it, test audiences. People didn't like it. Doing a fuck ton of reshoots. It's like $375 million for this movie.
Jesus.
No movie needs to cost that much. Especially when you have something like Dune 2 that's $190 million and it looks better than any Marvel movie. And it's a little more basic. It's simpler than what Marvel always attempts, but god damn. 375? Too much. All right, so got a couple of things. I finally finished Mad Max the video game.
Oh.
Great video game.
Hate the ending?
No, I was fine
okay.
with the ending. I mean, I hate it makes sense. You have to do it. After you kill off Scrotus and Chum Bucket, it's like, well, okay, you got your car back, you got Chum Bucket back. Go finish the rest of the stuff. If you want to,
Hmm.
you have to, just for the mechanics. I wish Scrotus was in it more. I feel like there's so many other mid boss guys that you more learn more about like your home base people than you do with him, and he just kind of is there. I was pretty shocked with the ending with him killing what's her name, Faith and Hope or something. The
I don't
the
remember.
woman and the child that he just comes and strings them up and kills them both. Like, whoa, fuck. Mad. I should have saw it coming. Max doesn't ever really have a happy ending in those early movies. His wife and kids are always dead. So I just held out hope that maybe he would get to cross the Great Plains with the one pretty woman that's in this entire universe and her daughter. But no, not for Max. Great game. I don't know if I'll go back and clear out all the things. Like, there's no incentive. I'm maxed out on pretty much all the stats and all the car stuff. It's just, well, I could get my territories down. Okay, and whoop-de-doo. I completed it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe if I'm bored, I ain't got nothing else to play, because the new free games was like Borderlands 3 and Among Us. So
Oh,
yeah,
lame.
yeah.
I
So
forgot it was free game week.
yeah, it's always I pay my rent and then I wait like 3 days and then the games are available. So I don't know why I said that. But all in all, great game. I would love to see them do a sequel where you do have more convoy stuff, where you're fighting on top of moving vehicles. Like, yeah, guys can jump onto your cars, but you shoot your shotgun, boom, they're done. Or you turbo boost into a wall and they die, or you shoot your flame.
Yeah.
Look, that's one of the upgrades that was really kind of stupid and I rarely ever used. You know how you could do flames out the side?
Yes.
Well, it uses your gas.
Yeah.
And it uses a lot of it. And it's not super effective. It doesn't really, catch them on fire and then they stay on fire and slowly deplete while you do other stuff. You just kind of really have to keep cooking them. And this is a game, like, I was worried, okay, you got to keep your water levels up for your health and you got to repair your car and you also have gas. I'm like, fuck, this is going to be like Days Gone where, like, I'm going to get stranded somewhere.
Yeah.
I never worried for gas once. There's so many fucking gas cans everywhere. And then once you do some of the home base projects, you get a full tank of gas as soon as you get back. It doesn't deplete fast enough for you to care. I never really paid attention. But if you use that weapon, it depletes so fast and it's so ineffective. I don't see the point in that. I wish it was better. Just use your fucking Thunderpoon, man, and just blow the shit out of people. But all in all, good game. Thumbs up. I'd take another.
Cool. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah. What do you got?
I've already forgotten. Well, I guess we can talk about the thing.
Well, because all I have is little stuff. I figured we'd save the other thing that we watched
Okay.
until.
I finished a book.
This guy, man,
I know.
reading.
I'm crushing it. I probably won't have another book done for a while. But I read book 1 in the Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson. The Final Empire is the name of the first book. Most people, pretty much all the Final Empire books are just labeled Mistborn, so everyone thinks the first book's named Mistborn, but it's not.
It's Final Empire, book 1 of the Mistborn series.
Well, you could just call it the Final Empire, but all that is attached to it, sure, I guess.
Okay.
This has been on my list for a while because it's kind of considered a classic in the fantasy genre, and Brandon Sanderson is the biggest name in fantasy right now. Dude is a writing machine. He's essentially the complete opposite of George R.R. Martin.
Okay, he's the Stephen King of fantasy.
He's just cranking out a book every year, sometimes multiple books, and they're all generally received pretty well, if not considered some of the best written fantasy around. It's kind of more of a young adult book vibe, but not necessarily. But in this world, people use metal. They ingest metal, and each different metal gives them different powers.
Okay. I'm just testing things. Yeah, it's
Okay.
like you got the mic that's kind of lower, and I got the mic that's really loud. So I'm trying to stay back a little bit, and you got to maybe stay in a little.
So in this world, they live in their world is known as like the Final Empire because there is one Lord Ruler who is just like so powerful that everyone lives in fear of him, and there are the Ska, and they're kind of like
The ska.
yeah, they're named the Ska. They're essentially slaves to the noblemen, and this guy who is a Mistborn. Mistborns can use all the metals. Most people either they have no powers, or if you do have powers, you can only use one of the power, and they each have like different names. But if you're a Mistborn, you can use all the metals.
Okay.
And Mistborns are super super rare. Pretty much every nobleman house has a Mistborn who is just like their assassin, essentially. So no one really fucks with Mistborn because they're very badass and they're very hard to kill because they have all the powers and stuff. But anyway, the story follows Vin, a young girl who's raised on the streets, and she kind of gets recruited by this thieving crew to infiltrate the noblemen of this world, because this thieving crew is run by Kelsier, who is the leader, and he is also a Mistborn. Well, she doesn't realize she's a Mistborn. He figures out she is, and he trains her. And basically, they're gonna heist the Lord Ruler and steal all this like super valuable metal, and basically crash the economy and overthrow the government and bring down the Final Empire and start a Ska rebellion to sort of like take back
With trumpets and trombones and checkered pants and
Yep.
skanking. Ska. Ska.
Oh, I thought you were doing like a Les Mis thing, like, do you hear the people?
No,
I thought
no,
it's like, wait,
no.
is that a
Is it SKA? Ska?
2 A's?
Oh my god.
Anyway, so the beginning of this book, I was very into. And then the middle section of this book, I was just like, all right, come on. Like, I didn't, like, it was just like her going to dances and like falling in love with this one nobleman, and then their boss is just like, you can't fall in love with a nobleman, they're all trash people. And then like there's constantly issues on like why the heist isn't gonna work, and you have this one guy who has the power to like memorize a bunch of stuff, and he's just like constantly like talking about like religion and stuff, which is like kind of cool. But it just, anyway, the middle section just keeps going and going and going. It's like, can we just get to the heist? Because you're watching an Ocean's 11 movie, you're just like, all right, like it's cool seeing the setup, but after a while you're just like, well, I want you to like go do the heist part.
Is this castles and horses, or is it more modern? Is it futuristic?
So there's no like guns or anything, so it's kind of, I'd say, more like kind of imagine like Napoleon but without guns. It's kind of the vibe, like kind of like most of this story takes place in the city of Luthendale, and I think it's kind of supposed to be like old-timey England,
but not
but everyone's
super old.
Yes, people still use like swords and axes and stuff, and they
like
they can wear armor.
But
I think it's more like button-down shirts and like that kind of thing. It's not like, I don't think the Ska are just like how Monty Python characters are, like out in the mud doing work.
Not
and
Robin
stuff.
Hood.
Yeah. It's a little bit past that. So Renaissance times, I guess, would be
French Revolution.
Yeah. At least that's kind of the vibe I got. And then just as I was like, man, I can't wait to just finish this book. I'm not sure if I mean, it was good enough that I would read book 2, but it wasn't, I didn't see what the hype was about. And then it got to the last third or last quarter, and I was like, all right, this is getting pretty good. And then by the end, I was like, all right, that was a lot of fun, that last chunk, and it sucked me back in. So now I'm reading book 2. I'm only on chapter like 4 or 5 right now.
And how many books in this series?
So there's the original trilogy, but then there's also a quadrilogy, if that's the name for it.
4?
Yeah, where it takes place.
I think quadrilogy is not a real word. Yeah, that's what people say.
Yeah, I forget what the official, but I think there's, I think it's called the Wax and Wane series, which takes place years in the future, and I think that they're a little bit more advanced. They've gone, the pictures make, he's got bolo hats, or is that what you call them?
Bolos are the things you throw that wrap around your legs, and if someone's running away and you have balls on the end of strings and you go
Oh,
whip it like
no.
Batman.
Bowler hats? Whatever. Point is,
They have some kind of
yeah,
hat.
it looks more. I think it's more like steampunky vibes from
Okay.
just the pictures I've
Okay.
seen of like cover art, but I don't think it's actually like a steampunk world. But just
Okay.
imagine like that
Sure.
kind of vibe.
Yeah, I always had to Google whatever, like fan art of some fantasy and sci-fi books, because like, okay, what does everybody else think of this?
Yeah.
And then I have an image like, oh, well, this is way more sci-fi than I expected. I was going way further back, but
Yeah, but the characters are likable and the action scenes are really fun because, like how they move with the metals, like one metal pushes you and one metal pulls you, so they are able to like fly through the city, kind of like
okay.
Spider-Man and how they move.
Okay.
Um,
Do you
and
know what metal does what? Like if I say copper.
I don't have it memorized like that. Like pewter is the strength one.
Okay.
So it can as long as you're burning that, you can run for hours. You can take a bunch of damage and not like feel it. And then there's one that like can hide you, like if you're using allomancy, that's what it's called. There's one that you can burn and it'll like hide it so no one else can sense when you're using allomancy, because there's a metal that you burn so you can sense allomancy.
Okay.
There's ones that can bolster someone's emotions and calm someone's emotions. So like when they're trying to recruit members for the rebellion, they have dudes like hiding behind walls, like burning allomancy. So they'll people be like, "Yeah, let's fucking go, let's do this." And so like,
and when you say burn, do you literally mean like put a match to a piece of metal, or is it
no.
power
So
in your hand?
they're essentially ingesting like shavings or pieces of metal. It goes in their stomach, and that's just what they call it when they like. So they can they know which metals, they can feel which ones they're burning.
Okay.
And because
they're digesting it,
because you're
burning energy.
You're basically, as you're using it, it's slowly deteriorating. But there's one called adium. It's the most rare. It's what like the Lord Ruler is harvesting and gives it, like that's kind of what he controls the economy with, because he just has essentially all of it, so he sells it for a very high price. And that one allows you to sort of see the future for a few seconds, so it's like that's why noblemen buy it to give to their Mistborns, because it allows them to basically be undefeatable for a brief period, because they can see all their enemies' movements like a couple seconds ahead or whatever. So there's some fun fight scenes with that. Anyway, it's super cool. Really was a fun read by the end.
And you said everybody could only really burn one type, and then that's it. Like if I'm the emotion up guy, that's all I'm able to do. And,
yep.
Okay. All right. That'd suck to get something boring like that. Like, oh, I'm the bummer dude. I make everybody like pissed off and sad or whatever, or like I make everyone chill. Like I'm the stoner of this whole group. I eat the shit and everybody calms the fuck down.
It uses the fun trope of like, when you have a heist mission, there's everybody who has their own specialty, and how they use each of those guys in their specialty is really cool and fun, and they're all like good dudes. That was an important thing. Like, yeah, they're all like working the streets, and they're all thieves, but they're thieves with a heart of gold, and taking this young kid.
And does everybody in the world have this power?
No, most people don't. I'll say that, like, we'll say, and this is just like me making up numbers, 75% of people don't have any ability, 25% have the one, or 24%, and then we'll say 1% is the Mistborn. But those numbers are probably like way off. It might be 99 and 1.
Yeah.
But even that 1 is the 1% of 1% of 1%.
Yeah.
But and there's also like cool fantasy monsters that like kind of live in this world. It's called Mistborn because like every night mist comes out, and the world is covered in ash because of like an apocalyptic event kind of thing. There's like no greenery really. It's a very thought out world, which I won't go into, but it's cool.
So I have 3 things.
Okay, hit me with
I started all of them, and they are all animated and all series. I'm gonna start with the one I am not gonna continue watching after 1 episode.
Jesus, okay.
And that is Sausage Party, Foodtopia.
Oh, okay.
It's nice to see the whole gang is back, or at least the majority of them. And I liked Sausage Party.
I did too.
It has some good funny jokes. You are a very punny person, and it's all
Oh,
about
it's
that.
right up my alley now.
That's a lot of this as well.
Hmm.
And so that's pretty much all it was, oh, isn't this crazy? This animated thing is really raunchy, and then also food puns.
Yeah.
And the first episode is just that. But so the general plot is everybody in the world is aware food is alive, and they destroy all the humans. And then now, well, we're gonna make our own Foodtopia. But then it rains, and it like all the bread people get like torn apart,
So
and
all humans in the world are now dead?
it's well, I'm only one episode in.
Oh, okay.
That's the way it sounds, but it could just be this neighborhood.
Okay.
But it was on the radio like food is alive, blah blah, blah. And then it just everyone's dead. Okay, we won. A lot of them want to go back into the grocery store because it's safe, and then people get separated, and they got to get back together and make their Foodtopia. But it was very unfunny, ugly animation. Just you can definitely tell when they flash back to things from the movie of how rough this looks,
Hmm.
and it's not worth wasting my time. It's like eight episodes. I'm not even curious enough to see where it goes. There may be some great things later on. Don't care. Not watching it.
Okay. Yeah, I was surprised because I don't think I even remember hearing that it was going to be a series
Mm-hmm.
because that movie was what, 2016?
So I don't know. You're the date
I
guy.
know. I was hoping you knew just off the top of your head because I feel but just after all this time to have this series come out and then just I don't know, the
Yeah.
trailer did absolutely nothing for me, so
No.
I don't even care to check it out. So it's good to know it sucks.
Second one is an anime on HBO Max. It's Suicide Squad Isekai.
Oh, okay.
Did you even know of this?
I think so because whenever I go on HBO to watch House of Dragon, I think I
Yeah.
see something for Suicide Squad, and
Okay.
but I haven't seen the trailer. I don't care.
So I never knew like what isekai meant. I've heard that before in like shonen and all these different things. Oh,
2016.
aren't you so good, Steve? Um, yeah, because I don't follow anime, I don't know. Like I know what slice of life means because that's English words. But things like isekai, I don't know what that means.
Sure.
So, for those who are like me and don't know, it's when people from a normal world gets transported into a different world. So we have the Suicide Squad, and they've been transported through a portal that Amanda Waller created for whatever reason. I've only done 2 episodes of this one. I planned on watching all 5 before we recorded.
Okay,
But
all 5 are out, and that's the
they're all
season.
out, and that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
But we're recording a little early today, so I didn't get a chance to. I will continue with this one. They all get transported to some weird medieval world where there is magic and crazy pig monsters, and there's
Hmm.
a queen and starving peasants, and they're like they help save the day, but then they get thrown in jail. But the princess thinks maybe we can use them to help our poor people, and then the queen's just like, I'm an evil bitch, and no, off with their heads, yada yada yada. Our team consists of Harley Quinn, of course, Peacemaker, Deadshot, King Shark, and Clayface. And Clayface is a lot like his uh, Harley Quinn Poison Ivy TV show version where they focus on the acting
Okay.
part, and so he's this beautiful actor that nobody like. He's like, don't I look familiar? And they're like, we don't know who the fuck you are, but he's just taken this identity of some famous actor, and he looks at everything through the lens of a movie, and
Hmm.
like. And he even says like, "Oh, we're in an isekai. We were transported to a different world," and
Ugh.
and so like I like that Clayface they've really focused on the acting side of it,
Hmm.
but he's not nearly as obnoxious as in the Harley Quinn show. This has some pretty good animation, and I am listening to the dub, but I don't know. It falls into a lot of the same annoying traps that I hate of anime.
Okay.
But it's only 5 episodes. I could commit to that, but I don't know what the point is. I don't know why Amanda Waller wants to go here. It seems like there's other Suicide Squad people. I think Killer Croc is going to show up, and maybe it's a rat catcher or something. But
Now, in this world where there's magic, I imagine, like, are there other like if King Shark is walking around, Are people just like, oh my god, a monster? Or are they just like, oh, there's one of those
No,
magical creatures
yeah,
that
'cause
we
all-
know? Like,
all the
no one's freaked
people
out by it.
in the kingdom, they're all humans, and then the invading forces were these pigmen,
Mhm.
and they see him and go like, "That's a monster." Lock him up with the rest of this group, since they
Mhm.
don't know who any of these people are. But yeah, they realize he is a monster. He's not normal, but it's not like they've been walking through town. They like saved the day once they arrived, and then they've been in prison for the second episode. So
Mm.
normal people haven't seen these guys.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fine. You know, it's not my cup of tea, but I'll continue. Last animated show that I started, have not finished. This is a bit longer. I'm about 7 episodes in,
Okay.
but I started Delicious in Dungeon.
Oh wow. Okay.
So I'm in a bit. You know, I've gotten past like the Holy Water episode. And I can't even remember where I left off. I think it was the the treasure that's bugs.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe an episode after that as well.
Well, the treasure with bugs
Is the Holy Water
they
episode.
use to fight because that's what they make the ice cream to
Yeah.
fight the ghosts,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
a crazy sentence to say.
So maybe an episode or two after
Okay.
that. But I had to say, like, this food looks great.
Yeah, doesn't it?
and one of the things I love about a weird concept is people just slowing down and just explaining yourself.
Mhm.
And I like that they go, this is how you have to prepare it. Make sure you cut this off and pull these legs out. Cook it for this long. It's very instructive for something that you absolutely cannot do.
Yeah.
But I can tell that someone who knows how cooking works.
Yeah, like they're actual cooking techniques, just
Yes.
used on things you can't make.
Can't do. I'm having a good time with it. I mean, there's still annoying things like the woman. I don't know any other names. The magic woman character. Just every
Marcel?
episode. Oh my god, I hate this. I'm not going to eat this monster.
No, no,
this is the best thing I've ever had in my life. Okay, after 2 times with this little dwarf guy making amazing food, you'd shut the fuck up about it, okay? He knows what he's doing. I know it's weird to maybe eat a bug that looks like a necklace or whatever, but he's killing it. I see what you mean about the lead guy being a little autistic. Just, yeah, he's super obsessed with a specific thing and just gushes over that.
And I think you'll see, if you decide to finish it, he gets more autistic, if I could say that. Not in like, you'll see.
Okay.
They kind of like explain it more, I feel like, later down the line.
I didn't realize the voice cast, the lead guy. He's like from Smosh.
Mm-hmm. Emily Rudd.
Emily Rudd is what's her name? What's his name? What's it? I'm gonna miss. I was gonna say Bong Joon-ho, and that's not his name.
You're talking about the samurai guy, or
no, the cook.
Oh, Senshi.
Sure.
Senshi's the cook, the dwarf cook.
The actor who plays him. He's been doing a lot of voice work. Asian dude, glasses.
You gotta give me more.
I know that doesn't help.
Was he in something that I've seen?
I mean, if you look at his IMDb, it's like he just does voice over work for a lot of stuff. But
whatever. Anyway,
well, that guy.
God,
fucking your internet, man.
Works fine for me.
Well, it's because you're connected to the Wi-Fi, and I'm trying to use data. And it's like, oh, God forbid, I'm in a basement and I can't use data.
Don't you have my Wi-Fi?
I don't. Every time we've tried to do this, it
whatever.
Work.
Anyway,
but like it's a good voice cast. So I'm just surprised at who's in it. Yeah, having a good time. Do you have a favorite thing that they've eaten? Because I really would love to eat those bugs that look like coins and necklaces.
That's so
creative.
That's pretty. I mean, nothing I can think of really stands out. I know there's something I'd be like, of course, that's the one I want the most, but I can't think of it at the time. I mean, even the things where I'm just like, I don't know if I'd necessarily eat that. They still look good, so I'd try it. Like, if you told me, oh, here's, dragon meat, or here's, orc brains, I'm like, orc brains sound super gross, but like...
You prepared it really nicely.
You prepared it really nice. I'll take a bite.
Yeah. So I'll definitely continue with that one. It's a good show that I can fuck around on my phone and not really pay too much attention until they start talking about food. Then I'll watch the screen, and then when they're having their little fights or pushing along the plot, like, I don't really care about this dude's getting his sister out of the dragon. Whatever. I don't really care about their goal in this show. I just care more about, like, what's the fun sort of thing. Like, I like when a movie has futuristic tech and someone can just go like, hey, isn't this cool? And explain it. I know it's not great for storytelling,
Sure,
but it works for this.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd be interested to see if you care more as the story goes. I don't necessarily know if you will, because I didn't expect you to try this show. Just from your history of anime and even my history of anime, we're not loving as much. But I don't know where I was going with that. I lost my train of thought. I was gonna say, I think I was hoping that there was like a cookbook, because the shows make cookbooks all the time, even if it like has nothing. Like Sopranos had a fucking cookbook.
And it's just Italian.
It's just Italian food. But something like Bob's Burgers has a cookbook, makes sense. This one, I was like, they have to be making a cookbook for this show. And so far, there's no official one. I think that there are people who on Reddit who have made recipes that are like.
It's like, you're not going to eat scorpions. You're not going to find a chimera or anything like that.
But I hope that there's a cookbook that comes out where you can get some cool recipes out of it, because that might be kind of fun. And if you go far enough, there's I'll just say a cat character who I'm so tired of fucking cats in anime.
Oh yeah.
But you'll see.
Okay.
But I enjoyed the show. Looking forward to season 2. Whatever you want to do. Oh, Sungwon Cho.
That's his name.
Yeah, he was on Dropout and got the YouTube channel. Yeah.
Excellent voice.
I love Sungwon. All
right, you got another movie, right?
Yes, I saw the highly anticipated. Ben's jealous he hasn't seen it yet, because I know he was clamoring for it. Horizon, an American Saga, Part 1.
Oh, not Horizon Zero Dawn? Fuck.
No, not yet.
It got dropped. Like, Netflix was going to make a thing, and they dropped it.
Good. It'd be too expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Game's not as good as I think it should be. Anyway.
It could be turned into a good show.
Yeah, possibly. Anyway, so Horizon, the new Western directed by Kevin Costner, got a lot of buzz because, big standing ovation at Cannes or wherever it was.
They stand for anything at Cannes. I think they're just tired of sitting.
And, he's, his first film that he ever directed won Best Picture, Dance with the Wolves.
Sure.
Back in, I think, 91. Anyway. I like Kevin Costner. My dad's a big Kevin Costner fan. I grew up on Westerns because my dad loved Westerns.
My aunt loves Kevin Costner.
Yeah, and he's just one of those, like, classic Hollywood guys he's been in a bunch of stuff. He hasn't done like a lot of hasn't had like a really great roles. He's made a lot of great movies,
but he doesn't have an iconic character like The Bodyguard. I bet people could say, but like, what's The Bodyguard's name? No idea.
But I thought the trailer looked good, and I was looking forward to checking it out.
What was that killer movie he was in recently with Dane Cook?
Mr. Brooks.
Mr. Brooks.
Mr. Brooks is actually okay. It's not bad. I thought he was pretty good. And Dane Cook, I thought, was good in it, too.
Yeah.
Anywho, so I like Kevin Costner. And this movie, critically, not been getting great reviews. That being said, weirdly, I kind of liked it.
Yeah?
But it's riddled with issues. As a singular movie, it doesn't really work. But for me personally, I feel like it kind of does have charm. And when it was over, I was like, I want to see part 2. And the 3 hours, I've also heard things about like the pacing's off and stuff. For those 3 hours, I don't think I looked at my phone once.
Wow.
I looked at my phone once because I was like, because Kevin Costner doesn't show up till about an hour in.
Oh, wow.
So when he showed up, I was like, how fucking far into this movie before he shows up? But I was never bored, and I was engaged with all the stories. That being said, the stories there's 3 separate stories that you keep cutting back and forth to. And they never really they never coincide with each other. They never meet up.
That's for movie 2, 3, and 4.
All the stories just kind of end. And there's no like resolution, or there's not enough there to really root for the characters. It just feels like you took episodes of television and turned it into a 3-hour movie. And especially if you're doing 4 movies, it's like, well, you should have probably just done television.
Yep.
Which is really weird because it also kind of, not that it ever looks cheap, but it almost looks like if they spent a little less money, this would look like it would be for TV.
Okay.
But huge cast of actors that I like, and anytime that there was just like the movie pretty much opens with like a big scene of Native Americans like attacking this like makeshift town of these people, and it's like really well shot and intense. And Kevin Costner is this sort of your classic man with no name. I mean, he has a name, but he's just kind of like your Clint Eastwood type, where he's old but badass and he just looks cool. And then your third storyline is Owen Wilson kind of like running this wagon.
Owen Wilson?
Not Owen Wilson, sorry, Luke Wilson.
Okay. Like, was it Shanghai Noon?
Luke Wilson is like the leader of this wagon trail going out to the horizon or whatever, to sort of like start their new lives. But you don't even get to them till like 2 hours into the movie.
Jesus.
So it's structurally it's weird, and there's no payoff, and there's a lot of the like things just go by kind of quickly. There's not a ton of like character work, but just something about it, I just kind of liked it all. And then what was really weird about it is because the movie, all 3 storylines didn't have like a real end to them. This you mentioned earlier in the podcast. When I see stuff in the final act of the movie, in the trailer, I'm waiting for it. So it kind of takes me out of it because I'm looking for those shots. This is one of those situations where like, yeah, there's a bunch of shots in the trailer for Horizon that don't appear in this movie, but there is a montage at the end for the second movie. Oh. It's like a teaser. So the movie ends, it gets to the end of the final story, and then it just plays like a 2-minute
on the next episode. Yeah,
on the next episode of Horizon, a 2-minute trailer of like scenes to come. And I was just like, cool, I want to see that movie. I wish it was in this movie.
Yeah.
So it's weird because I don't even know how I guess I would get this movie like, I want to give it a B-, but it kind of feels more like a C+ because it doesn't really work as a movie. But I still liked it. I liked a 3-hour Western where
nothing happened.
Well, stuff happened. It's just like nothing paid off. Okay. And it was just like, oh, here's the prologue to the next 3 movies. These are the characters you're going to get to know, but you're really not going to get to know them until the next thing, because you have like no real backstory of Kevin Costner or why he cares for. So Kevin Costner's storyline is he like rolls into town. I think he's part of like some, like they sell cattle or something. Like he just rolls into town with his buddies, I guess, and he meets a prostitute, and he saves this prostitute from this bad guy, whatever backstory. So now he has to go on the run with this prostitute, but you like have no idea where he's from, or like why he cares about this woman and this child that she's with, or like why he got himself involved, whatever it is. And now it's just like, all right, well, and then this is the only part I want to tell you about this movie. Kevin Costner is in possibly the most boring sex scene I've ever seen in a movie, because I don't know if you remember in the trailer, it's just like him with the like, pretty girl on top of him or whatever, and I was just like, of course Kevin Costner writes a role where he's like with the most attractive woman in the entire Wild West, who's like 20 something.
Didn't Clint Eastwood do that with the mule? Like, oh, I'm gonna be in a threesome with
but it's not like
ladies.
It's not like he was actually like doing stuff. In that movie. Anyway, but it's just a scene where he's like, he worked all day, and so she gets on top of him, and she's like, come on, Hayes, like, let's do this or whatever. And he's just like, I'm tired, I just want to go to bed. And so it's just like both of them fully clothed, with her just like slowly rocking forth on top of him while he like doesn't move, and his like face doesn't move at all. And it's just like, it's the weirdest 20-second sex scene, because it's just 2 people who are like grossly different in age, fully clothed, just slowly rocking back.
Is it played for comedy?
No, but to me it was funny. But Yeah, but in the theater it was me and 6 other people. The woman behind me, there's one like sad scene. She was sobbing. You could hear her like
Wow.
audibly crying. It wasn't a big theater, and then when the movie was over, like people clapped. Like older folks. I was the youngest person in this movie, probably by like 25 years,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not a super young man, but yeah, old people love this movie. I think. Uh, if you like Kevin Costner, if you like westerns, or if you're anyone over the age of 45, I think you'll like this movie.
Okay.
But it's definitely not drawing audiences in.
Yeah, because they dumped part two. They took it off the schedule. Either it's not going to get a theatrical release, and it'll be dumped on a streaming service, and then they'll probably have to re-edit it to kind of wrap things up because he paid for a lot of this of his own money,
Mm,
and if he's not making anything back, he's not going to have enough to fund the next two.
yeah. Well, I read that. I think they're shooting 3 right now already.
Oh,
I think they started back in May. From what I read, I think they're pushing it back, not because I mean, obviously because it's not making that much money, but also they want it to like kind of get an audience on streaming, and then they'll
and
release it
sure, yeah.
versus just
If
like
you don't know anything about the Horizon Gang or whatever, a lot of people aren't going to take a risk on a Western.
yeah.
So, but if it's on streaming services and you could watch it at home and you could break it up over 4 hours for this
Mhm.
3 hour movie.
See, I figured it'd be like, oh, you release in summertime, put it closer to. I mean, I imagine the December area is kind of stacked, but if you
Mm-hmm.
did like a December or early January release, try and qualify it for like Oscar stuff.
Sure.
Not that I think this movie's going to get
Yeah.
much in the Oscar race, if anything, but like if this is the vibe you kind of want to put out, like, oh, this is my magnum opus,
Mm-hmm.
Oscar-worthy film.
Yeah, because
Like,
when was
push it
it
into
supposed to be out?
uh, so this opened in July, right? Or no, June? I think it was just June and August.
Okay.
I think it was only like a 2-month difference.
Okay. Damn.
So we'll see.
Okay. I'm rooting for him. You know, I respect a filmmaker who could say I'm gonna blow my own money. I guess he got a divorce because of this movie. Like,
It could have been through multiple
things, but it's like, don't go off and make that cowboy movie. You're gonna be away from home for so many years. And like, gotta. Sorry, it's my passion.
Yeah, I mean, from a filmmaking standpoint, I think it's really well done, and I think Kevin Costner is just kind of one of those underrated classical Hollywood
Yeah.
actor guys, and I'm glad he's making stuff like this.
Yeah.
But as a film, it doesn't really work, which is a shame because there's a lot of stuff in this that I like, and there are some very good scenes, but I feel like they'd be scenes that would be even better had the characters been fleshed out a little bit more when those scenes do occur.
Sorry, you don't get it all. You don't get to be like handsome and a movie star and have like one of the biggest dicks in Hollywood. And
Is that a thing?
that is a thing. Apparently, like young sex workers and stuff who have hooked up with him, they're like, it's insane. Like it's him and Willem Dafoe are the two like crazy huge dicks in Hollywood. Apparently.
Congrats, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, but you can't get it all. So you get a bad box office, you know? But at least you're not Richard Gere and people think you put a gerbil up your butt, you know? At least you avoided that. All right, we're going to talk about real quick a movie I brought up earlier in the year. One of my favorites that was suggested me to by our good friend Nick. He knows, once again, hey, it's another anime thing. It's a very anime heavy episd coming on from me.
I appreciate you trying anime, despite the fact that you keep not liking things.
Yeah, they just got to work a little harder. Cater to me and only me. But we're going to talk about Mars Express. I got a Blu-ray version of it. Finally came in the mail like an hour before you called me and said, "Hey, you wanna record tonight instead?" So it was perfect timing. As I said before, about 2 detectives, 1 robot, 1 human, who are investigating 2 college roommates who go missing, and then a huge robot conspiracy plot unfold just because of their disappearance. Steve, did you like this movie at all?
I did.
Good.
Yeah, I really dug it. I liked. as I've said on here probably a bunch of times, I'm big on world building. This movie does a lot of world building in its hour and like 28-minute runtime.
Yep.
And you understand why everything works the way it does, and anything that you're kind of like, well, what's that about? Like, it's explained, and
explained in like 4 seconds.
Yeah.
Here's a little bit of information. You got it. We're moving on.
Yeah. It moves at like a pretty breakneck pace.
Yeah. But it's slow. Like, it doesn't feel rushed. And like once you get to the action at the end, there's some high speed stuff, but a lot of it, like, they're just walking to a room and then walking to another place and may have a gunfight. But like all these scenes are just like 4 seconds, and it's like a slow 4 seconds. But then you jump so much further into the story 4 seconds later, and you feel like you're just barreling through the plot, but it's taking its time and making you feel lived in this world.
And you have your two main characters who, like, you get just enough information about them to care. More so, I think, what was his name? Marcus?
Yeah.
Marcus's character, you get a bit more. Like, he has a family backstory, and all that kind of stuff.
Died in the war. He's just a digital replacement.
Where, like, your main character, I forget her name, and we just watched it.
Yep. I'm not good with names.
She has one of those sci-fi names, I feel like. Kind of.
Sure.
It's probably like Debbie. No, isn't it something like Alphaba? I know it's not Alphaba, but
Aline, Aline.
Yeah, the sci-fi name.
Come on, Eileen. Oh, this is from the future.
The only thing we kind of get with her is like, we know from a picture, she was a soldier with Marcus and another character who's in this movie, and that she's an alcoholic. But that's really
Carlos, not Marcus.
Carlos, thank you. But we don't really get like a whole lot with her, but we get just enough where I'm like, I care about this person, and because
I died in the something conflict, and people are like, oh wow, that major event that happened in our history, but we don't really go into what it was. We just know it was significant.
Yeah. And we can see travel between Earth and Mars, and those two like different worlds, and how all these robots function in them. It's all there. And in terms of the case, like, it keeps you engaged, and you want to find out, what's going on. And then it gets to the end, and you have this like really well done action sequences, because when it comes to anime, like, that's kind of what they're known for. So like, you really need to nail those, and I think it does. But it's not. It's big and a little bit flashy, but it's not over the top and like unbelievable. It definitely lends itself to like, oh, they could do a live adaptation of this. My only major issue with it is I didn't quite get what the big plan was. It's
a little tough to follow.
If I had to guess, they wanted to get rid of the robots for some reason.
Their third person who was in the military with them, the Ray Jacker, wasn't that?
Roy Jacker.
Roy Jacker.
He runs the Apple of this world that makes the robots and stuff.
Bio robots.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to be the future, and it would kind of take over, and we wouldn't have these robots trying to revolt and get brought to life, or what are they called?
Robots can be hijacked in this world and basically given freedom to, like, if they wanted to, they're no longer slaves to humans. They can do whatever they want, or even kill humans, which is like the main thing robots shouldn't be able to do.
But people don't really give a shit about these organics. Like, you see the guy with his little cell phone thing, it's not working all that well. So his stock is down, and the plan is, if we fuck with these robots and bring them all to become self-aware and believe they want to get off planet, then we'll have no choice but to use our organic robots to replace them. And then the stock will go up.
Right. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And then it's like all the stuff with the college roommates and everything plays into that.
Yeah. And you see the beginnings of some of these organic robots, and they're all like Lovecraft monster looking things, just like really gross. Like, why would anyone want to use these over regular robots? So that makes sense why it would fail. And then you see like a tank version of one of these things. You're like, all right, I can see why.
I can see why the military
would want to use.
I don't need this. What's that fucking? Hold on. What is it called? That David Lynch movie, the weird one.
Eraserhead?
Yes, that. Like, they look like the Eraserhead baby. I don't know. Have you seen Eraserhead?
I have not. I just know the poster.
I'm not a fan. But there's a little baby that looks like, I don't know, like a Koopa Troopa wrapped in gauze. It's
gross.
Yeah. They're these disgusting Krang monsters that are inside glass that stink. And
can I get your Krang impression? Because you do a pretty good one, I think.
Do I?
I feel like you've like busted it out of nowhere and it made me laugh. Maybe you don't. Never mind.
No, Shredder. I haven't watched Ninja Turtles in so long.
Okay. Well,
he's like growling and gurgling.
We'll work on it.
All right. Yeah, they're just like these horrible, disgusting things, and yeah, nobody wants that. But animation is beautiful. It reminds me a lot of the Second Renaissance from Animatrix, which is also a robot heavy, themed thing. And
Scavenger's
Range, where very simplistic animation, but still high detail. I don't know how to explain what that is.
Yeah, it's weird. It's one of those animations because I don't know if it's because not that it's bad. It's just maybe we're not used to. You don't see it a lot, so you're not used to it. It almost feels like it's on the verge of being choppy. Like one frame is like out in or whatever,
and it's not like typical anime where you have a character frozen and just the mouth is moving to save on animation costs. It feels like they purposely are leaving out frames for an aesthetic.
Yeah. Which can, in like the first scene with the college kids, maybe you're kind of like, oh, I don't know how I feel about this. But after like 10 minutes, you're just fully in, and it's like, yeah, of course, this thing is just gorgeous. And so I would love to see more in this world. I'd like to see more detective stories in the future, like doing this kind of thing. I mean, the AI murder rebellion thing we've seen a bunch of times, but this was a nice new take on it. So yeah, I mean, if you want to make a Mars Express 2, I'm into it.
I don't know what you do with Mars Express 2. Yeah, especially with what happens at the end. No spoilers with that.
Do prequels, different sides.
Different people, maybe a couple years before this happened. But it's a cool world. Yeah. And all their little tech is just so interesting. Doors that you can see through before you let people in. The little alcohol stopper for people who have drinking problems.
You can fuck a centaur.
You could if you want to. 8-legged ladies. Robots can have sex and do drugs. It's nuts. I love it.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right, let's get on to our main topic. We're at an hour right now, so
sweet.
Perfect. We saw Longlegs.
Written directed by Oz Perkins.
Starring of Anthony Perkins from Psycho.
Oh.
Yeah. Starring Nicolas Cage and
Micah Monroe.
I was like, I always stumble on her first name. This movie is very much, if you like Silence of the Lambs or Seven, I think this would be up your alley. You have a female FBI agent investigating some serial killer who has his own weird set of rules, and it may tie into her past. Did you like this movie? Because I really like this movie.
That does not surprise me at all. Yeah. I did like this movie. I have a feeling you like it more than I do.
Sure. It's not perfect by any means, but I dug it.
But yeah, I am not typically in the horror camp, but when it comes to horror, I would like psychological thriller horror more. Yeah. So this is more in this thing that fucks me up than your jump scares or your slasher films or whatever. Like this is
demons.
This is more my shit. Especially starring Micah Monroe because she's in one of my favorite horror movies of all time. It Follows. Yeah. I fucking love It Follows. But yeah, I really dug this movie, and we'll get more into that. But I'll let you start since you seem more passionate about it.
I was super excited for this. All I heard was the scariest movie that you'll ever see. Like, no, it's probably not.
The marketing for this movie is doing its job.
Yeah, it is, but I think it's leading people to be disappointed. They're going in expecting the next Hereditary or whatever it is they think is the scariest movie, and It isn't. It
Yeah.
has its moments,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not super scary. It'd be a scary situation to be in, just like a lot of
Yeah.
horror
It's
movies.
unsettling throughout.
Absolutely.
Is it scary? Almost never.
Yeah, and I think maybe because there isn't a lot of jump scares. There's a couple of like quick cuts of like Nicolas Cage's face about to move into frame, and then you
Mm-hmm.
cut away, and it's like that's almost scarier than seeing his face. Um, so this isn't the be all end all scariest thing of all time, but I think it's pretty good. Very well directed. I
Mm-hmm.
like how the aspect ratio would change. I think the sound design is the best thing about this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of weird little, like hearing Nicolas Cage off to the side going like cuckoo, and it
Mm-hmm.
sounded like, with good surround sound, it sounded like he was right behind me. It was very spooky. A lot of little weird crickly, crackly sort of things, and everything was also very loud. Just like you put a book down and it's, boom.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't like they cranked up the speakers too high. It was like purposely uh, jumpy, very abrupt, loud sounds that were really impactful.
Yeah, it always gave sort of the vibe that someone was in the room next to you.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of times where she just kind of she hears just one little thing, and you're in the audience, you're like not quite sure what
Yeah.
she just heard.
Uh-huh.
You just heard a little something, and so she looks over, and it makes you want to look over
Uh-huh.
too. And in terms of direction, I most of this movie there's always the best example is her at her desk, and there's just there you could see a door frame behind her, which leads to the kitchen, and it just holds
Watching.
there, and you're just waiting for something to like
Yep.
move back there or jump out.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a bunch of those kind of shots. She's always there's always something like lingering in the background, but never
Yeah.
occurs. It's
Nope.
just all because we as the audience are tricked into thinking, oh, this is the kind of shot where something will appear there.
Yep.
And it's just there to like keep you on edge for like 2 minutes, and then
Mm-hmm.
nothing ever
Nothing
happens.
There is a part where when she investigates something she sees outside, and you see her window behind her, and you see a figure moving inside the house,
Mhm.
but you can't tell what it is. It's out of focus, but it's there enough to be like, oh fuck, this is why people said this is one of the scariest movies, because it's just a simplistic thing of stranger in your house.
Mhm.
It's not a big googly monster coming after you from underneath the bed.
Yeah.
I didn't realize, like, I saw Alicia Witt's name in the credits,
Mhm.
and I'm like, oh, I wonder who she plays in this. And then I forgot she was in it, and she was the mom. I don't know if do you know Alicia Witt?
She looked familiar, but I couldn't quite place where I know her from.
Look her up. She's just like this absolute beautiful redhead, and is like, oh yeah, I guess she would be older now. She's still not in her 20s from when I remember her as a kid. But I think everybody is really good in this, especially Micah Monroe. She's good at wearing her like anxiety outward and not holding back. She just seems like a bottle of nerves that's just ready to explode at any second. And she's a detective who has a little bit of precognition, or she's good intuition is what they would tell. She's not a psychic or anything, but she's able to like know things that she shouldn't be able to know. And I think kind of having that always going on in her head is just made her a bundle of nerves the entire time. And so she's just really good at expressing, what she's actually going through mentally, physically.
Yeah, because from a character standpoint, it's like she shows almost no emotion other than anxiety or fear.
Yeah.
Now, granted, you're in this
I'd like to see her inside out head.
Yeah, because I mean, she's not. It's clear she's not a social person or a fun person. It's just like
she's not a
this.
fun person.
This whole movie is just kind of her, mostly just delivering lines almost robotically.
Yeah.
But just from her performance and everything, I was very invested in her character. Like I believed she could exist versus just someone who's just like, well, we have your brooding male lead or whatever who can like be kind of robotic, but that's just like how they're so badass and tough. But like she's clearly very good at her job, but I don't know. I just really enjoyed her performance.
I got a lot of Clarice Starling from Silence of the Lambs from her, especially when she goes to interview Buffalo Bill at the end of that movie. You could tell like she knows something's up, but she has to try to stay cool the whole time. This is what this character is through the entire movie.
Right.
I'd say the person doing the worst job is no surprise, but Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
I don't know why they hired him. He's known for playing over the top crazy.
Mhm.
So when you see that, it's like, look, Nicolas Cage is doing his over the top crazy thing, and it's not nearly as scary. You get an unknown in this role or someone who never plays anything like this.
Yeah.
And especially if you're going to cake on a bunch of makeup and make it look weird, you, I don't know, like take a Joseph Quinn, you know, or like an Andrew Garfield.
Yeah. That
You
would
would
been
never expect Andrew Garfield to do something this horrible and creepy,
good. Hmm.
and it would really work. Nicolas Cage, there are times like, ooh, I've seen this performance so many times before. I didn't buy it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hate his performance in it. Like it didn't, but I agree. I think someone else should have done it. Because I read that the original idea was either to have Nicolas Cage do it or Brad Pitt do it, and Brad Pitt doing it
Ooh,
would be fun.
yeah,
I'd like to see what that interpretation would be.
yeah,
Because Brad Pitt is always like handsome and cool, but it's like
yeah,
you cake him on with a bunch of fucked up face makeup
yeah,
and make him like a lunatic. Might be a cool performance.
yeah. I wonder if he couldn't do it. Like maybe that's one of the reasons he didn't do it.
I don't know. But Nicolas Cage just kind of doing a Nicolas Cage performance.
Yeah,
Yeah, like it's different. I think it's still effectively freaky and
yeah.
weird,
He's a
especially
scary
like
kid.
in the opening scene.
Yeah,
When it's just kind of like, especially like being this like weird albino or like flower face paint. Look, he looked like Dennis from that episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where they're like back in time,
yeah.
but like grosser.
Yes, but then was transported into the modern world, got a bunch of plastic surgery, and then now it's 30 years later, and that plastic surgery is failing.
Yeah, I just, yeah, his performance, while effectively creepy, wasn't like, it was my least favorite part
Yep.
of the movie.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because this could have been like a new iconic character.
Yeah, the same way, what was it, Bill Skarsgård did Pennywise and just like blew everyone's fucking socks off. It's like you could have done that with a new actor, or like you said, gotten someone you wouldn't expect to do it. You know?
I guess you want that name recognition of people going, ooh, Nicolas Cage playing a weird serial killer? That's going to be cool.
Especially since the whole movie has an indie feel to it. It's not like this big budget horror movie that like they're pushing on 4,000 screens. I mean, it's probably at 4,000 screens, but it just, I don't think you really would have lost anything having an unknown do it. You know.
It's like I still really like this movie. I'd say I like this better than Maxine. That one I was way hyped for. This one I was hyped because the internet made me hyped. Every time the trailer came on, I turned it off because I'm like, I've heard good things. I don't need to see anything. Where Maxine, I was already way invested, and that was a bit of a disappointment. And this one, I'm disappointed that it doesn't live up to what other people said it was gonna be, but I still think it's really good. But now, now that that's done, it's like, okay, well now Cuckoo, you better fucking come through and kill it, because that's my next one that I'm going, damn, that looks good.
The Cuckoo trailer was it was on this movie, and it was the first time I've seen it. I don't know if it looks great, but it looks fun.
I love Hunter Schafer, and I love Dan Stevens. Dan Stevens just always gives a good performance no matter what he's in.
Yeah, Dan Stevens the man.
Put Dan Stevens in this. Let him be Longlegs.
So the big thing of this case is there is 10 murders that are all recurring essentially around the 14th of any given month.
Yeah.
And it's always a family that gets murdered, but it doesn't seem like it's like the father kills the entire family and then themselves, and it's believed that Longlegs is the one doing it because he'll like leave a note behind or whatever. So it's just like, how is this man who doesn't seem to be physically murdering anyone getting people to murder each other?
Yeah.
And that's the big crux of the case. Before we get to the end, did you just assume that it was going to be something supernatural, or did you...
I figured it had to be, just because if the fathers are doing it and then killing themselves, I don't think you could blackmail people to do it. Like, how would he find these people to do it? Like, it had to be something otherworldly, supernatural, or whatever.
Yeah.
So
I didn't want it to be supernatural. I
It would
like
be cool if they could have an actual answer.
Yeah,
That's like, oh, that makes sense.
I mean, just also like when you're comparing it to Seven and Silence of the
Sure.
Lambs, those were all like very practical, like for serial killers who
Yeah.
believe in this other thing,
hmm
but this other thing doesn't necessarily exist in this world.
Yeah.
It all plays itself very realistically. Where this, you get to the end, and then it's definitely not.
Yeah, I like that they take their time to pause the movie and go, "You kind of confused? Let me explain,"
Mhm.
and then just dole out the whole backstory and like, in case if this was a little more indie, it could be left a little more ambiguous.
Sure.
And there's like, no, devil worship.
Yeah.
This is the thing. Don't think too hard because it's the answer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my thought through the whole thing was, okay, so maybe these dads are involved in this devil cult, and they've been
okay.
leading this life of like normalcy, but as to why they decide to do it, like maybe it was just like, oh, it was all part of some ritual, or that's what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, they're part of a men's group. They all like do a blood sacrifice of some kind to get the wealth, the fame, whatever it is that they wanted, the clean bill of health.
Mm-hmm.
But then the devil's gonna come calling, and then years later, the devil through Longlegs comes calling to, and then they have to kill their family, whether they're conscious of it or not. That would have been fun.
Yeah, that's kind of where I thought it was going to be going, but then it gets to the end and it's not. It's actually just been, I mean, it is devil worship.
Yeah.
Hail Satan. But it's him making these magic balls that he puts the devil into.
Yeah.
That her mom. Spoiler alert at this point. Her mom takes to them, like brings a doll to their house on their birthday. The doll possesses the father and then kills the family, or like I guess possesses the whole
of them,
the whole family, and then that's
that the mom has to be witness to the deaths and then leaves the note and moves on.
Yeah,
and all to save her own daughter,
mm-hmm.
and to keep Longlegs from coming after her.
Yeah, because the opening scene of the movie is Longlegs, going to the it's going to be Micah Monroe's character was going to be the first murder.
Yeah.
But the mom makes a deal. Don't kill my daughter, and I will help you kill
Yeah.
other families over the next 30 years.
Which is a little confusing. Was he just going to straight up kill them and not do the doll thing, devil worship stuff, and just kill them?
Because we never see a doll in her house,
No,
I believe.
But the mom had the doll at the very end and blows its brains out, remember? And then she's like, oh...
I guess he could have brought it, like, thinking he would have had to do it himself.
But, like, was this part of the plan? Like, I know I'm going to do this doll stuff, and the devil had told me you need an accomplice for this. So if you go and attack these people that don't have a dad, maybe the devil already knows in advance she'll make a deal with you, and this is all kind of set up to get the accomplice?
Yeah.
I guess? Maybe?
Maybe.
Yeah, and, like, the whole triangle because of the dates and stuff. I don't know. Like, it's just a symbol. Whoop-de-doo. And how does that?
And I think she made that paper, so it's just you just happen to make it this way.
Exactly.
Which I guess you could argue could all be part of the subconscious thing or whatever,
the psychic thing. And she's able to figure out his little code. Mm-hmm. And they're like, "Wow, how'd you figure that out?" And I'm like, "Oh, I just looked at it long enough." Cool. Is it important? Will it give us a clue of the future? Nah. Now that we solved it.
Is she just naturally intuitive, or is she intuitive because she has this connection to Longlegs already and the devil and all this stuff?
Yeah.
It's it's one of those movies that's clearly could explain things more, but I think it would take away from some of it. I don't need it all that explained, but at the same time, I just didn't like getting to the end. It's like, oh well. The devil exists, and he's just possessing people, and it's all like there is no, there's no
reveal of like, no, this is a crazy person, and here's his clever way of getting it done.
Yeah, which is what I typically like. Yeah. I like that he was living in her mom's house this entire time.
Yeah, she's there trying to open the door, can't get in. It's like he's just there.
Yeah, right under her nose.
Yeah,
and.
What do they call it? The downstairs man or something?
Yeah.
The man downstairs?
The man downstairs, which, like...
He was the man downstairs, but when he's referring to it, he's talking about the devil.
The devil, yeah.
Everyone's downstairs of someone.
Ooh. So, in your interpretation of the end, when the father or her boss is the final victim of the movie
Mm-hmm.
and his family.
Saw it coming from the moment he introduced the family. It was like, oh, you have a family too with a little girl who's having a birthday soon? I wonder if this is going to come and play.
Do you think she did the killing of the little girl? Like when she's shooting the doll, do you think that's actually... Because I've seen interpretations where she gets there, like the dad is already killed the wife. That's why she like didn't stop it. And then when the girl comes over, like she kills her mom, and then there's the doll sitting on there, and she's like trying to kill it. Do you think that's like she actually is unloading the gun but killing the daughter? Or do you think she just actually saved the girl at the end and the daughter's just going to be okay with all this?
No, I think the daughter's just going to be catatonic like that. The one from the farm was.
Oh, okay.
And then she'll never wake up because Longlegs is dead now to reactivate her sleeper cell agent. So yeah, she'll just be a crazy person. And like she only shot her partner or her boss in the shoulder and in the hand, it looked like. So I don't know. He could technically survive. It didn't seem like he got his head blown off or anything.
Okay.
No, I didn't take that as her shooting. Because if anything, it's not like it was like she had to do it to save the world, or it was so terrible to survive one of these events. No, I don't.
I just wasn't sure if it was kind of like, oh well, you know, I came here. It's like because even if she saved the day, like she still is the one who shot her boss.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, I guess the evidence shows that the father killed his wife. Maybe she could get away with that, but she also shot her own mom. She's connected to all these other murders where like the lady who drove her to her mom's house gets her head blown off.
Yeah.
It's just like it'd be very hard to imagine a world where she like doesn't go down for this. Because if she's just like, oh yeah, the devil did all this, they'd be like, you're a fucking nut job. You're going to prison for the rest of your life.
100%.
Yeah. So it's interesting that like that's kind of where the movie ends because you don't know what happens next. It's just like the devil wins, I guess. But man, those veiled shots with the yellow eyes, so fucking scary. Like made my butthole clench.
Yeah, because you'd see the eyes, and then within a second they would fade away, and they wouldn't be there, and just like really good small details like that.
I mean, I remember watching Psycho many years ago when I was starting to get into film, and you know, I don't remember a lot of that movie, but I just remember like curtains open up and you just see the eyes on like the black silhouette. Still one of the scariest things. Just something about like devilish eyes on a black silhouette just is so fucking scary.
Yeah, good shit.
Yeah,
not the scariest movie of all time, but definitely has its moments. Like I was really, I'd say the first act, I was pretty creeped out most of it. Yeah. And then the second act's a little long, and you do more investigation stuff, and you get kind of comfort. You get comfortable, and it wasn't so scary, but still, good fucking flick.
Yeah, but like going to the barn scene, we're like, oh, let's go to the farm and investigate, and they always have to go like in the middle of the night. It's like go during the day.
And I was like, oh, it's like 212 miles. I'm like, okay. That's 4 hours going, or like, 4 to 3.5 hours going 60 miles an hour. Okay, leave at noon. You'll be good. Why are you going? Why are you leaving at 6 p.m.?
Or like, I mean, I know you're on a time crunch and you got to try and go as fast as possible. I guess I get it. But at the same time, it's like if you're trying to investigate the area, wouldn't it be better just to have like a bunch of light versus like 2 flashlights? But then you go to this barn and like you're looking around every corner. You only get the flashlight lights, so you're always waiting for something to pop out there. And then they find this weird, creepy dog. Like the whole scene is just very unsettling. You have a shot where they're like looking at the barn door and the camera's like slowly moving at like you're gonna see something, but nothing's there.
It never pays off. You always just expect something's gonna jump out and get you, but it doesn't.
But it doesn't until pretty much the end.
Yeah. I like at the very end, she finds a picture of Longlegs from when she was a kid, and like, we got to do a nationwide manhunt for this person. Cut to cops swarming in on him. Like, how? Who turned it in? I can only
one. Well, they found him so quickly because he's the only person who looks like that. Yeah. Like the second you put that on TV, they're like, oh yeah, I know that guy. He goes to my hardware store every day.
It was going to be that girl. She's flipping through the magazine or whatever and is going to see his face and go, I know exactly who that is. And then you hard cut to him at the bus stop. Like one more 15-second scene, I think, would have made that play a little better.
Yeah. To be that girl and see that guy's picture on the TV. It's
Uh-huh.
like serial killer or whatever. It's like, oh my, this is the guy who
Like-
came in all the time and cuckooed at me or whatever.
It's like, and fucking knew it. Just like, Dad, that weirdo guy's back. And like, doesn't even flinch at like, try to stay safe, just goes right back to her magazine.
Yeah. That girl had she should have been an FBI agent in the future.
Yeah.
But anywho, what would you give this movie, Ben?
I gave it an A- because I think it's better than a B. But that could change. But I'm giving it an A- for now.
I'm stuck between a B plus and A-, but you know what? I'm also going to give it an A- because I think even though I didn't necessarily love the end, I feel for what it was. It did it effectively, and probably would, if I had to guess, the movie that will creep me out the most this year. So
Okay.
I'll give Longlegs an A-.
Yeah, I saw a thing like, don't review this movie as what you thought you were going to get. Review the movie you actually saw. And the movie I saw is an A- movie.
Fair enough.
Cool. What's next week? It's not the week you're out of town yet, right?
I think we get one more.
Okay. Well, because we have our year 3 media bracket to do, which we'll probably have to wait till August. So, first week of August, do you think you'd be able to do that?
Yeah, I'll have the time to come up with a list, I think.
Well, I'll make the list.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I mean.
You don't have to do any work with these most of the time.
Even better.
It may be a smaller bracket than what we've done before, just because we've done less episodes this year, and there's somewhere, you only see one thing, and I try to keep things that we both see on it. I have a feeling I already know what the winner is.
Okay.
I'm not going to say anything, but I have an idea. But next week is Twisters.
I was just about to say, our movie next week is Twisters.
And is there anything else coming up?
And not from my brief search on Fandango.
I mean, we could see Fly Me to the Moon. Yeah. No, thank you. Yeah, I'll see Twisters.
I had no desire to see Twisters, but then I've heard a bunch of stuff where it's like, no, actually, it's like a really fun summer blockbuster movie.
Yeah,
so.
I have a feeling it's going to be a big hit.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, well, if you want to get in contact with us, we are at WRPLpodcast@gmail.com. We're on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Threads, and
don't forget to keep Kitsubing.
No, yeah, I mean that's always a thing. But I had a thing that like a question. If you want to get in contact with us and then ask this question, but
Longlegs serial killer. Who would you cast as the?
Sure, yeah. If you were going to recast Nicolas Cage and get someone who's actually good, who would you pick? All right, hit us up. And as always, I'm Ben,
and I'm Steve,
and keep consuming.
You know what? It should have been Donald Glover as Teddy Perkins.
Oh my god! Yes,
Can we do a
that's
super cut of that.